This afternoon, we're going to do plasmid isolation using a mini prep kit that was made by Giogen. And the name of the kit is Gaia Prep. And we're just going to follow their instructions. So, their instructions are as follows right here. So the first thing you need to do is you need to take out a 1.5 mil microcentrifuge tube and transfer 1.5 milliliter of the overnight culture, the bacteria that was provided for you. You put it in this tube and you centrifuge that sample in the microcentrifuge with the lid closed and the hinge pointed to the top at 6800 times G for 3 minutes. Okay? And then you remove the supernatant, and so you get rid of the supernatant, and the pellet now remains in the tube. So to the tube you add 250 microliters of buffer P1, and all the buffers that we're going to be talking about are provided for you. Vortex that sample to resuspend the pellet. Make sure that the entire pellet is resuspended, otherwise the sample, the protocol is not going to work. So after it's been resuspended, and then you transfer, you add 250 microliters of buffer P2, and after you add this buffer, you invert it to mix 5 times, and what's going to happen is the solution is going to become clear. After the solution has become clear, after you mix it, and then you add the 350 microliters of buffer N3, and you invert it again 5 times to mix, and then you close the tube, and you centrifuge at 17,000 times G for 10 minutes. Okay? Now, the pellet then is the one that you get rid of this time. Alright? So, right now I'm going to get rid of the pellet on the side right here, and the supernatant is the one that you take. Now, as the tube is spinning right here, and I'm going to point an arrow right here, you go ahead and set up a microcentrifuge tube in a rack, and then you put a column inside the tube, and this is called the Gaia Prep column. Okay? The Gaia Prep column, you put it inside the microcentrifuge tube and leave the lid open. Right? Then you take that supernatant from this spin up here and you transfer it into that Gaia Prep column right here that you've set up. Alright? And then you take the microcentrifuge tube containing the Gaia Prep column and the supernatant, and you centrifuge at 17,000 times G for 1 minute. Okay? Now, your DNA is going to be on the column right here. So from here on out, you're just going to wash away all the junk and leave the DNA. So, to that column, so what you do is you get rid of the flow through, and I'm just going to abbreviate it FT for the liquid that comes off the flow through. You discard it. Just lift the column and pour out the flow through in the beaker that is provided for you. You replace the column into the tube, and you add 500 microliters of buffer PB. After you add that, and you're going to be washing the column, you centrifuge at 17,000 times G for 1 minute. Right? After the centrifugation, what you're going to do is you're going to get rid of the flow through as before, and I'm going to get rid of the flow through right here on top right here, and the column is you replace the column back into the tube. Okay, and so let's see, let me back up right here. So you centrifuge after you put the supernatant into the column, centrifuge at 17,000 times G, get rid of the flow through. Add 500 microliters of buffer BP, you centrifuge at 17,000 times G, and for 1 minute, and you get rid of the flow through. Sorry, I skipped this step right here. All right, you replace the column back into the tube, and you add 750 microliters of buffer PE, and you centrifuge at 17,000 times G, and you get rid of the flow through. Okay, and then now you have the empty column right here. You take that empty column and you centrifuge this empty column right here at 17,000 times G for 1 minute. And the reason for this is this step is going to get rid of the liquid, the residual. All right. You want to make sure that before you go do this next step, that you want to make sure that the column is dry. So get rid of the residual, and then now you take that collection tube that you've been using to wash, and you throw it away, and you replace it with a brand new, this is new and sterile microcentrifuge tube. This is going to be your sample tube. And so you take that and you do the following to it, the next step. And that is that next step is you put the column in the tube, and then the sterile tube, and to that you add 50 microliters of elution buffer, and it's abbreviated EB right here. To the column with the brand new tube, you add 50 microliters of buffer EB, and then you let it stand for 1 minute at room temperature. You want to make sure that the elution buffer completely soaks the platform or the top of the column. All right. After that is finished, let me get rid of this. Sorry. I'm just going to continue right here. So after you let it stand and allow it to soak, I'm just going to continue this way. You allow it to soak for 1 minute, and then you centrifuge for 17,000 times G for 1 minute, and then you discard the column and you keep the tube, and it's the tube that contains the 50 microliters of elution buffer containing your plasmid DNA sample. Go ahead and label with the date and your initial, and now you're done with the plasmid isolation. Okay, so sorry it's kind of confusing, but let me just go back. So you pellet 1.5 ml of overnight culture, get rid of the supernatant, resuspend pellet in buffer P1 by vortexing. You mix in buffer P2 by inversion of 250 microliters. When this solution is clear, you add 350 microliters of N3 by inverting again 5 times, and then you spin this at 17,000 times G for 10 minutes. You get rid of the pellet, you take the supernatant and you put it into a column that has been placed in a 1.5 microliter microcentrifuge tube. All right. Then you spin that, the supernatant that is contained within that column, within that microcentrifuge tube, you centrifuge at 17,000 times G for 1 minute. Get rid of the liquid that comes out, and then you add 500 microliters to the column. And the way you get rid of the liquid is you just lift up the column, pour the liquid into a beaker. And then you add 500 microliters of buffer BP to the column, centrifuge at 17,000 times G for 1 minute, get rid of the flow through. Add 750 microliters of buffer PE. Centrifuge at 17,000 for 1 minute. Remove the flow through. Replace the column in the tube and centrifuge an empty tube to make sure that you get rid of all the liquid. And then you get rid of the tube that you've been using to collect from the column, and you place that column in a brand new tube, sterile, right here. Add 50 microliters of elution buffer. Let it stand 1 minute to completely soak the platform of the elution of the Gaia column. And then you centrifuge at 17,000 times G for 1 minute. The liquid that comes off, you keep in a tube, and you get rid of the column. And you label the tube with your initial and the date, and then the plasmid name. Okay. Now let me go to determining the DNA concentration. So the first thing that you do is you mix in a microcentrifuge tube 595 microliters of deionized water with 5 microliters of your DNA sample that you just isolated. Mix very well, and then you take this tube to the spectrophotometer. All right, you take a cuvette, you put 500 microliters. This will be, take the cuvette, add 600 microliters of deionized water right here, okay? And then you blanket, set it blank at A2 at 260 nanometer with the deionized water in the cuvette, and then you replace the water with your sample, and you read the absorbance at 260 and 280. And then you come here and you calculate the concentration of DNA, and you use the following formula. 1 absorbance at 260 is equal to 50 microgram per microliter of per milliliter of DNA. So really what you need to do is 1 absorbance is equal to 50 microgram per milliliter, and then you just equal to whatever your absorbance. Let's say your absorbance turn out to be 0.5 at 260, right? Absorbance divided by X, since we don't know how much DNA you have in there. And don't forget to calculate in your, or to add in your dilution factor. And what we did was that we had 600 microliters total to get our dilution factor, and we had 5 microliter, right? So the dilution factor is about 1 to 120, all right? And so when you calculate this out, it's going to be X is equal to 0.5 times 600. I'm just going to make that 120. That's the dilution factor right here, times 50. And the unit for that is microgram per mil. All right? So whatever that is equal to right here is equivalent to your DNA concentration in micrograms per milliliter. And then after you've done that, then you're finished for the day. Thank you.